Hi, welcome to the She Moves Mountains podcast. This is your host, Kamala Murphy. Thanks for joining us today as we talk about some of the juicy stuff we women experience that makes this life journey truly amazing. You know, the nitty-gritty, the love, the loss, the falling down and rising up, the getting lost and finding our way again. To our hearts, our happiness, and to the awareness that we can and do move mountains. Thank you for joining. Hi, this is Kamala. Welcome to this episode of the She Moves Mountains podcast. I'm so glad you're listening in. This week, something has come up for me and a number of my clients, not surprisingly. And that is around the idea of perfectionism and fear of making mistakes, of doing things wrong. Most of my clients and I have something in common. Most of us were raised to be good girls, to be able to toe the line, to make our parents look good, to not raise a ruckus, to be good students, to do things well. And on one hand, that's great. But on the other hand, we did not learn to experiment. We didn't really learn that it was okay to make mistakes. Now, we may have been told no one is perfect and everybody makes mistakes. But when it got right down to it, mistakes were punished. Mistakes were disapproved of. If we made mistakes, there was oftentimes a loss of love and appreciation, or sometimes it was shaming or ridicule. So most of us being empaths or sensitive, we learned pretty quickly that mistakes really aren't okay. Mistakes are to be avoided. And what we didn't know, and maybe our parents didn't know, if we are towing the line, if we are doing the right thing and not making mistakes, we wind up living a rather narrow life. And for some of us, that's fine. But for the women that I know, we're here to move mountains. We're here to have a fuller expression of life. And being good girls, afraid to make mistakes, that doesn't cut it. So at some point in our lives, we need to give ourselves permission slips to go ahead and make mistakes. And it might not be as easy as it sounds. I know for me, I've been told for probably years, oh, just give yourself permission to make mistakes, do it imperfectly. And I can hear that. But when it comes right down to it, I still balk and dread doing something where I might not do it well, where people will see that, ooh, there's a flaw there. She looks like an idiot, or that's a stupid thing, or that came out totally wrong. And that ties back to the family mantra, if you will, what will people think? So for those of us who have that what will people think tape running in their heads or hearts, it takes a little undoing of that programming. If we're experimenting, we may feel out of control. We may feel really anxious. We may actually feel sick to our stomachs. But it's important for us to sort of examine, what is this idea of being a good girl and looking good, what is that tied to? For me, I know that part of it is the family. And although my parents have been dead for more than 20 years, there's still a tie. If I look good, if I look acceptable, there's something in me that has me feeling like the family still approves of me, that I'm in with the family. So I get to decide what's more important for me in my life now. Is it what I want? Is it what I feel will move me, forward me the most? Is it what I think will help me or my family or my community or the world the most in the long run? Or is it being attached to my family of origin, or saving face, looking good, being safe from ridicule? I get to decide what's going to bring me the most joy and enthusiasm and delight in this world. Is it experimenting and seeing what happens, or is it towing the line? Is it being sure that I don't make mistakes? As I was preparing for this podcast, I did a little research on the quotes that I love to look up and share. And almost invariably, people speak about making mistakes as being a key element of growth in this life. Mandy Hale wrote, "Life isn't meant to be lived perfectly, but to be lived boldly, wildly, beautifully, uncertainly, imperfectly, magically lived." And if we're going to live like that, we're going to make mistakes. We're going to trip. We're going to fall. We're going to roll in the mud, and we'll grow. So what would it take for you to give yourself a permission slip to make mistakes, to live your life more boldly and more magically and more beautifully and with mistakes? And to maybe even celebrate those mistakes. It's just part of the learning process, the way that you get to know that you are growing and learning. So I'm sending you all off with a permission slip to go out and make some mistakes, make some messes, expand your wings, your horizons, and have a great week. Thanks so much. Until next time. Bye for now. You've been listening to the She Moves Mountains podcast, coming to you every week. If you're a woman who wants to move mountains in your own life, please make sure to subscribe or follow this podcast. And if you've laughed or gotten teary or smiled knowingly thinking, oh yeah, that's me too, please go ahead and rate the episode with 5 stars. It'll be a feel-good thing to do. Thanks a bunch. Lots of love and blessings to you. This is Kamala signing off. Until next week. Take care.